Good afternoon. As you know, we recently took our first annual employee engagement survey, and I am pleased to report we have the results back. I have had a chance to do some analysis, and I believe that the results are going to help us learn what it is that we can do to improve our employee engagement levels. As you know, in the past, when we've talked about employee engagement, we have made an assumption that if we can increase the levels of employee engagement, then that will increase customer satisfaction. And if we can increase customer satisfaction, that will increase our year-over-year sales growth. One of our key, as you know, one of our key business results for the company to be successful. So we have assumed this pretty direct connection path between employee engagement and our business results. Well, I'm pleased to tell you that we now have the ability to actually check that assumption because we have the employee engagement survey data and we have customer satisfaction data. I was able to run an analysis looking at the relationship between the customer survey data and the employee engagement data, and indeed there is a positive correlation, as you can see by the dotted orange line. And with further analysis, we were able to determine the strength of that relationship such that if we improve our employee engagement by 1 point, we should see a corresponding increase in our customer satisfaction data of 27 points. So that's a pretty significant increase for customer satisfaction, and then we assume for our year-over-year sales growth. The question then becomes, what is it that we can do to improve our employee engagement scores? You know, we would like to improve them at least that 1 point, maybe even more. Well, the other thing that we did with this employee engagement survey was that we included a number of items that we thought would increase employee engagement, be related to employee engagement based on the definition of employee engagement. And I'm pleased to tell you that our results showed 3 items where for our employees there does seem to be a relationship between 3 items and the employee engagement scores. Those items correlated well together. There seems to be a relationship. Now, with HR practices, we have to look at what strength of correlation is significant. For HR business practices, we typically see between 0.2 and 0.5 strength of correlation as significant. Now, we had, as I said, 3 items that were significant. One of them, I know what is expected of me at work, had a correlation strength of 0.24. So just over the line, just significant. Not a real strong correlation, but enough to be significant. Then we looked at I am fairly rewarded for the work that I do. That had a correlation strength of 0.32, so a little bit stronger. So that's definitely something to consider. And then the third item, my manager gives a variety of interesting tasks, had a correlation strength of 0.61. So even stronger than what we typically see with most HR services or programs. So this is a very strong correlation strength, and this is probably where focusing on this item we will get the most bang for our buck. We won't ignore the other two, but this is the one that has the strongest relationship, and it has a very strong correlation. So what I'm proposing, based on those findings, that we do the following. I am proposing that we take the scores for employee engagement, the index, and we rank order them, which is very easy to do. And then we can see easily the top 15 scores and the corresponding locations. Where are the employees located that are feeling the most engaged? Then we can take all the managers from those 15 locations and bring them in for a manager focus group and talk with them about these 3 items and ask them, what are they doing to make employees clear about what is expected of them at work? What are they doing to reward employees when they're doing a good job? And my manager gives, what are they doing to provide a variety of interesting tasks for their employees to do? We want to understand, for our most engaged employees, what is it that the managers are doing to create that kind of environment? So that will give us best practices. We can then communicate those best practices to all of our managers and encourage them to implement those best practices. We can tell them that if it feels too much to have to implement best practices in 3 different areas, that the priority area is the variety of interesting tasks, because that's where we have the strongest relationship. That's where we're likely to get the most bang for our buck. The other thing that I would do is have our HR business partners work with the managers at the bottom 15 locations. That's where we have the opportunity, the greatest opportunity for improvement. And with the HR business partners working with those managers to implement especially the best practices around giving a variety of interesting tasks, that should give us the potential to have the biggest improvement in our engagement of our employees. Any questions?